Hello and welcome to That Man. That is me merchandise, and today we are once again going to go over, well, just what have I been reading over the last few weeks. I'm not going to lie, I've been a little bit light on reading things. I don't know why, I've just not had the right mood to be able to sit down and read manga. But that doesn't mean I haven't, and yeah, I've covered a few things. A few manga, a few light novels, and a few... well, that's about it. It's manga and light novels. That's all we really care about. Let's go. First up, I've been reading Yotsuba Volume 6, Yotsuba Volume 7, Yotsuba Volume 8, and Yotsuba Volume 9. I'm going to always be hyped for Yotsuba because Yotsuba is an absolute fantastic title of a manga. In these particular volumes, Yotsuba gets a bike. Yotsuba unleashes a horde of rampaging animals upon the world, and they destroy all of mankind. And in Volume 8, Yotsuba takes part in a festival. And finally, Yotsuba plays under an umbrella. Yeah, she goes hot air ballooning. Once again, this is an absolute fantastic title, and you know what? It's always amazing to go back into Yotsuba's world. This is the 4th time I'm reading through this, and I can never ever get old with it. Seeing life through the eyes of a child makes you yearn for the good old days. The good old days where you just didn't have a care in the world. You didn't have to worry about self-quarantining or bills or dying. You just ran around and enjoyed yourself, and you know, you played on your bike, or you visited the farm, or well, the ranch. Are American farms called ranches? Are they not? Are they the same thing? I couldn't understand that. I was just like, let's go to the ranch. I was like, you're going to the farm. Over to you, Americans. The only ranch I know is ranch dressing, which I'm guessing is farm dressing. Is ranch dressing made out of farms? I've also been reading Delicious in Dungeon Volume 5, and this once again continues the escapades of 4 adventurers as they try to eat everything in the dungeon in order to save their companion. I'm not gonna lie, this one I didn't enjoy quite as much as previous volumes. The first major arc in the series is out of the way, and while this does lead into another arc, there's a lot of stuff in here that I'm kind of, I don't know, it kind of bounces between one group of people and another group of people. And when I was reading, I was like, yeah, it's fine, world building and all that, but then I was kind of like, I just wanted to get back to the main cast. Because it focuses on another group of people that I don't genuinely care about at this moment, it's a little bit, However, it did manage to pick itself back up towards the end. Also, they try and eat dryads. You know, dryads as in the naked girls. It's not as sexy as you might think. I was a bit disappointed, to be honest. A few months ago, I covered a certain series, a certain spin-off of a certain series. A series that I talk about a lot, but I haven't really covered on the channel. And that is Overlord. I read volumes 2 and 3 of Overlord a la carte, and these are just fun little side stories. I actually fell behind on collecting these. I bought volume 1 in like November, and I was just like, oh, it's going to be ages until volume 2 comes out, and then when I looked, there was volume 2 and 3. There's a lot of fun little mini stories here. If you like Overlord, I would definitely recommend checking these 2 out, because yeah, they're just a lot of fun. I mean, if you like Overlord, you like the stupidness. There's a lot of weird stuff, and there's a lot of over-the-top comedy, and there's a lot of stuff between the best girls as well. And yeah, if you like Overlord, if you like the Overlord manga, I would really recommend checking it out. It's going to make that wait until Overlord Volume 12 that much more bearable. At least I hope so. God, I want Volume 12. While we're focused on Isekai Quartet, last month I did mention I was reading a certain series to try and catch up with it. Volume 7 is still a ways away yet, but I finally read Volume 6 of the Saga of Tanya the Evil, and you know what? I got through this one rather quickly, because I had to take my car to the garage and had to wait for it, and you know, all I had was this, so I read like 100 pages. Saga of Tanya the Evil is interesting. It's not like any other light novel I've read. In fact, it's more like a novel. And it's one that I've absolutely enjoyed. There's a lot of stuff coming out in here which I'm kind of like, oh yeah, I didn't expect that to happen. We're basically getting into World War II aspects of it. But it's always remained good. Tanya now has to not only battle the enemy or the alliance, but she also has to factor in snow. That's right, a harsh winter. And if you know about World War II, we know that the winter was never a good time for a war. I mean, never's a good time for a war, but you know what I mean. It's kind of like running desperately out of supplies and freezing to death. It's very dreary. It's very difficult. What happens with Tanya is that it does go back and forth between what is essentially Winston Churchill and Tanya's squad. It's interesting to say the least. I can't really say much because it's going to be major spoilers. However, I'm not going to lie, because I read this after Volume 5, I'm struggling to remember what happened in Volume 5 and Volume 6. It all kind of blurred into one glorious whole. And it is absolutely glorious. Tanya the Evil, once again, proves that it's a fantastic read, and one that I feel that could be suitable for a lot of people who aren't normally into light novels. If you're more into novels or even World War II aspects, you're going to enjoy this one. If you don't want World War II aspects and you want some fun, why not read Volume 2 of Konosuba and Explosion on This Wonderful World? Yunyun's turn. That's right, this is once again the spin-off to Konosuba, Volume 2. Didn't think this was as good as Part 1. The reason being is that it moves away from the Crimson Magic Village. Megumin has finally managed to earn her keep and moved away. She's managed to trick a certain demon into giving her some money. Literally tricked her. And she soon ends up in a certain town of water. A town of water that reveres a certain useless goddess as a goddess. Church of Axis and the Church of Eris. The Church of Axis, they're pretty much horrible people. A certain priest in that church who may pop up in Volume 8 of the series. I've seen most people aren't going to know who I'm on about. A young priest there called Cecily, she resides there, and Megumin's going to help her out a bit. And she's going to help Megumin out. In fact, no, she's not. One of the things I loved about this was that how it really delves into Aqua's church, and all of them are horrible people, and all of them are absolutely useless. They don't really do anything, but they're willing to take your money for it. It's one of those weird things. It's like anywhere else would call it a weird cult, but in this, nope, it's a church. Am I trying to say that churches are weird cults? I did not say that. Do not sue me. But that's one of the things I loved about it, is that all of the characters are once again useless. Whereas the Crimson Magic Clan, they were all pretty useful. They all had their own thing, and Megumin was the fish out of water and actually couldn't really do much apart from learn Explosion. Whereas in this, Megumin is just as useless as everybody else, and it kind of feels a little bit more like a normal Konosuba one. However, I don't know, I felt like it missed a lot of stuff. The characters that do appear in it don't make up for the ones that haven't appeared in it. For example, last time Komiko, Megumin's youngest sister, she was like centre stage. She was a secondary character in this. She's like appears at the beginning, but that's about it. Still, if you do enjoy Konosuba, you're still going to enjoy this one quite a bit, and I would wholeheartedly recommend you check this one out if you like Konosuba. It's time to go digital, and the first one I want to talk about is Give My Regards to Blackjack. Now, I haven't really spoken about Blackjack much on the channel, but Give My Regards to Blackjack, it was quite eye-opening. It was a rather interesting look at the medical world, and you can see my full review on it up here. It's something that's very hard to digest. It's stuff that you may not want to understand or you may not want to know. But this is an absolute fantastic title of a manga, and it's one that I would really recommend. Plus, it cost me like 11 pence for the entire series because each volume's £1. So yeah, that's worth talking about. I can't talk about this one because I'll get demonetized. But I read it and it was alright. It tells the story of a young man who is using the school grounds as a magic lab because why not? Why not do that? And all of a sudden there's a knock on the door, a young girl opens the door, which was sealed via magic, and she's just like, what on earth are you doing? And he's just like, you are the second coming. And she's just like, Kia, Kia, and gets stripped naked and all of these slimes attack her. Yeah, it's a weird one. It's not bad though. It's one of those titles where I looked at it and I was like, oh, this is going to be terrible, but you know what? It's not a bad one. And you know what? I don't like calling her that. She's an absolute darling. She's actually one of the purest protagonists I've seen in a long time, which is quite rude to them. I understand it's one of these gal / gyaru popular chick things where they're supposed to be easy, but I don't know, I enjoyed what I read of this, and you know what, I'm going to read more of it. Had a bit of ecchi in, so if you're not keen on that, you're probably not going to enjoy it, but you know what, there was nothing really wrong with this one, and it was good enough. On the same vein, I also read this, and this wasn't good. Wasn't very good at all. Wasn't terrible, it just wasn't a fantastic series, and I kind of felt a little bit misled with this cover. It promised more than it actually delivered. I was expecting an ecchi food title to fill the hole that Food Wars unfortunately left. It was a romance, which I'm perfectly fine with. It was a romance between teacher and student, which I'm not really a fan of. It kind of didn't really know what it wanted to be. It kind of, at one point it was going, oh, well, it's an ecchi title. Oh, it's about food. Oh, it's a romance. Then it just kind of didn't really do much with all three of them. It kind of just like, there's a little bit of food. Who cares about the food? We're going to talk about romance. Who cares about the romance? We're going to dress up the girl in skimpy clothes. And I was like, just decide what you want to be. If you want to be a shoujo, that's perfectly fine. If you want to be a food one, that's a nice unique thing to do. If you want to be ecchi, well, there's nothing wrong with being an ecchi. Just pick a genre. It was disappointing. It was very disappointing. I really was disappointed when I read it. Disappointed. Youth romance comedy is wrong, as I expected. We're supposed to have a romance comedy when we're in our youths. This was a weird one. This is one that I heard so much about. I heard so many people hyping this one up. I know this is a season 3 coming. I know it's in the top 5 light novels on my anime list. Volume 1 was okay. It tells the story of a young man who, he's a bit disheartened with life. He's kind of just been like, well, I'm just floating from day to day. Nothing really is going on. I'm just going to get through school. I'm going to be a house husband when I grow up because it's easy money. I can just sit around the house and play games all day. And his teacher's just like, oh, his teacher's a weeb, by the way. She's a proper weeb. She gives us One Piece references, which, you know, I mean, any series that gives us One Piece references is automatically best girl. The teacher goes, now, we need to shake you up a bit, and he is dragged to a classroom where a young woman is sitting reading her book. She abuses him a bit, she calls him names, and she's just like, oh, you're worthless, I don't really care about you. And that's kind of the whole gist of this. It reminds me a lot of bottom tier character Tomazaki, where it's very much a young man trying to make himself better while making other people better. However, it wasn't quite as interesting as I was hoping it was. It is only volume 1 and I am 100% picking up volume 2 and 3. In fact, I already did because it was on half price. Cheapo! And I don't know, it was one of those ones that maybe I was tired, maybe I just wasn't in the mood for it, but I was reading it, I was just like, yeah, this is good, this is good, this is good. Nothing exceptional, so I'm assuming it's one where after a few volumes it's going to get amazing, which I'm really excited for. My youth comedy wrong as I expected, or my youth comedy snafu, I believe it's also called. It's an interesting one. I mean, I feel like it appeals more to people who are just going about their day-to-day life. They're kind of just like, well, nothing's interesting going to happen to me. That whole Chunibyo mentality where people believe that they're destined for greater things does not take effect in this. But it does have a lot of really nice moments. I really liked a lot of the characters and a lot of the side cast. It's one of those titles that I think I struggled a little bit more with than I should have, and that's due to the names. There's a few characters, for example, there's 2 female characters, which is the second and third main character, and they both got similar sounding names, and I'm just kind of like, which one's talking here? And because it's a light novel, you don't have that visual mentality of just being like, oh, yeah, I know which one you are. Yeah, I know which one you are just by name. It does get better along as it went on, but it was quite difficult for the first few chapters where I was just like, who's talking here? This is just confusing. But it is one that is still absolutely worth reading. I did enjoy it enough. Like I said, I picked up volume 2 and volume 3. And yeah, it's one that I want you guys to let me know when, if you have read it, when does it get good? When does it get good? And as for me, I'm going to continue panic buying. I've only got 2 copies of Mario Tennis Aces left.